Good afternoon, everyone. This is Linda with lindasueplantsforyou. Let me just say at the outset here, I apologize ahead of time if I'm coughing. I really wanted to do this video today, and the weather is such that we really need to have the windows open and get some fresh air in here. We got 70-degree day, and it's been very, very hot for the last week or so. But along with that, we've got some not so good quality air. A lot of pollen and just, I don't know, things in the air that they're giving us a air quality warning, and whenever they do that, it does affect me. So but hubby is home. Today is Sunday, and he wants the doors open too, so I'm gonna just try to get through this. But I just wanted to oh, and also just a little reminder for you all, those of you that saw my last video, my part 1 of my south window, before and after. I did the before. The after is coming. I'm waiting on, hubby is, in fact, I believe he is, as we speak, at the store getting some sort of supplies that he needed to make me another plant stand, and I need that for my burro's tail before I can finish up what I'm doing there. So that's the disclaimer, if you will. I'm sorry that it's taking so long. I was hoping to have it done today, but it doesn't look like that. Well, I'm sure that's not going to happen. I've got a lot of cleaning to do there before I put it all back together. But I am in the process, my friends, and this is one part of the process. These plants were in my south window, and I'm taking care, I'm taking the time while I have that all torn apart to reassess what I'm going to have in that window come end of, fall, winter, and what I need to do to help the plants that I did have there. Now, I keep hesitating because I'm smelling some mildew, and I need to find out where that's coming from before I repot, because I sure do not want to put anything with mildew or mold in with my new plants. So let me just research that for a moment and try and see if I can figure out where it's coming from, and then we will resume. Okay, I'm not finding anything, so I don't know what to say to that. It might just be coming from outside. We live in a low-lying area. We have a lot of peat moss in this neighborhood, and whenever it rains, that will happen sometimes. Well, in fact, we had one summer where, when I was still working, I'd be out, doing open houses or showing houses or whatever all day. I was a realtor, so I am actually, but not actively running around right now. And I remember coming home after we had some really torrential rains, and we were actually on the news because we had some flooding down the street here. We had people fishing off of our street. It was the craziest thing. And it was the only time, and we've lived here for almost 40 years, and it was the only time that happened. But boy, oh boy, that was something. It gave me a new respect for floods, and a new sympathy and appreciation for people who have gone through that. Because I know for a lot of years I used to think to myself, gosh, we have all these warnings. Why are people not getting their items and getting out of there if they're being warned that it's for the potential of this major flooding? Well, that's what happened to us, and honestly, there was nowhere to go other than a hotel or barge in on my already crowded daughter and her daughter, and my mom lives in a senior living, so there just was nowhere to go. What I did do in preparation, however, is I did pack up in one tub irreplaceable items such as our family photos, a doll that my grandma gave me when I was a little girl I used to play with, and you know, just a couple artifacts and things that could not be replaced. And I put them in this big tub, and I put them on the back porch or in the back room. And I said to my husband, we had a boat at the time and it was on a trailer in the back, and I said, you better pull that boat up to the house and unhook it from the trailer just in case. So we got a way out of here. So he did. He pulled the boat up to the house, and although he didn't unhook it from the trailer, which I found out later, and we kind of had a laugh about it. I said, well, a lot of good that boat would have done. Well, he probably would have just jumped in the water and unhooked it. But anyway, so we had the boat right next to the back porch, so all we had to do in the event that that water started rising quickly is grab that tub and my purse and ourselves and our bottled water that we had and get in the boat and go somewhere. I don't know where we would have went. But anyways, I know I'm going off on my side street here, but I happened to think of that when I was smelling that smell, because for the rest of the summer, until we hit winter, until we got our first frost, every time I was out working, when I would come home at the end of the day, as soon as I'd get off the main highway and get closer to my street or my house, it smelled like I stuck my head in a bag full of mold. It was horrible. And it was like that for months. And that is what I'm smelling right now. And I'm wondering if it's not because we have the doors open and we've had quite a bit of rain. If that's not going on again on a smaller scale, it could be. Oh well, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to carry on with what I started to do before my video gets to be 2 hours again. Alright, this is part of the south window. Okay, these are my Kalanchoe Tomentosa. This is the Panda ear. And this one is the chocolate soldier. And you can see the difference. These are darker. I have another Kalanchoe that I got from Suzette in my south window, which, by the way, also needs addressing. And but that's not part of this project, so we're going to do that another time. And this one is my Kalanchoe Copper Spoons. She's such a beautiful plant. I just love her. She's so soft. But there goes one leaf. She suffered. Now, if you remember, if you watched my first video, you're going to remember me saying that my plants suffered, and this is how. I lost a lot of lower leaves. And I actually lost a lot of lower leaves on quite a few of my plants. Because my other plants were so big that needed to be in that south window. But they were so big that it was hard for me to get around them with the watering can. So sometimes I'd miss, sometimes I just gave up. It was just, I couldn't do it without worrying about falling on my bad days. So there's a lot of reasons. Some might call them excuses, but honestly they're good reasons. And but I can't let that continue. I have to do something. So this is what I'm going to try to do here. I'm moving those bigger plants more to the side, and I'm condensing some of these so I don't have so many pots. So today I'm going to, this one I'm not going to do anything with for right now. I think eventually I am going to propagate her, and she can be propagated by leaf or by stem. And I think what I want to do is I think I want to try a leaf before I cut the stem, because there's only one, and if I cut that stem and it don't work, then I'm going to lose her. So I think that's what I'm going to do. And I don't know, maybe before the video is over I'll decide to do it. I mean, I can literally pick off one of these leaves and stick her down in this soil. And there is soil under these stones here. And stick her down in there and she should root. That is one thing about these plants. They're so easy to propagate. So we may do that with her, but let me think about that. Okay. Then, boy, that smell is so strong. It's got to be coming in from outside. And that could also be why I'm having a hard time breathing today. Okay. Oh, my goodness. Okay. So, I already told you the names of these. There are quite a few other Kalanchoe Tomentosa plants. And they all have different names. And some of them are, there's one that's almost white and a lot fuzzier with no coloring on them. There's a lot of them, so don't get confused here. If you decide that you want this plant, you really have to research it, because what you don't want to do is think you're getting one kind of plant when you're actually buying another. And some of these plants will they will resemble other plants before they get their browning, and their color actually comes from keeping them in the sun. So just, oh, look at here. Let me show you this, what I just found. Do you see this little plant here? This is growing from this leaf. There's a little leaf in here. I'll show you a close-up of that when I take these out of these pots. I'm going to combine these two plants into one pot. That's my goal. I hope I can do this. I hope this is going to be big enough. As I'm looking at it, this pot isn't a whole lot bigger. It's not a whole lot bigger than the one it's in, so I'm not sure if this is going to work. And my next biggest pot is far too big, so I guess we'll have to, well, let's give it a go, shall we, and see what happens. I'm going to loosen this up here. And this is just an old cake frosting spatula that I've had, believe it or not, since I'm, oh my goodness, I actually think I was 18 years old. And now I'm 67, so that just tells you how old this is and how long one can keep things if they take care of them. I'm not a hoarder, but I'm close. I could never live like some of those hoarders do, but I understand how some of them get to that point. It's hard for me to throw things away, especially useful things. Grab a piece of paper towel here for the hole. I always forget something, don't I? Okay. Now in the soil I'm using, excuse me, my normal potting mix plus some sand. Now that's weird. As I brought the sand back here, I started to smell that more. You know what? I'm not going to use this sand. This was on my back porch in my tub outside with my extra soils. And I have a hunch that's where this might be coming from. So I'm not going to use it, because if it is that, I don't want any trouble. I do have another container of sand that I have had it in the house. It didn't come in this container. I don't want to confuse you. This is a container from my river rocks, my Kalahari river rocks that I get at Lowe's. But this sand I purchased in a big bag, and then I poured it in here. This is not quite as rough as I'd like it to be. This is a let me see if I can. This is a more, this is a finer sand. Let's see if you can see that. And that's not what we want. I mean, it'll be okay, it'll work, but I would prefer the coarser sand, and that's usually what it calls for. Whenever you go on the internet and it calls for sand, it'll say a coarse sand. But I think that's because this can pack down. But if you don't put too much in, I use this all the time with my plants, and it hasn't been a problem. So if you mix it in like I just did, let me show you that. I'm going to put in a little more, so you can get the idea, okay? You know, it's not like you're putting in a third of a cup or anything like that. You're just putting in a little bit and then just mixing it up a little, okay? And it does help to break up the soil mixture a little bit so that it doesn't pack down, so that you've got good drainage. Now, this soil is a Bleep Frog or Happy Frog. Never can remember the name of it. I think it's Happy Frog is the brand, yeah. And I get it at Fleet and Farm, and I do believe they sell it at Menards. No, they used to. I don't think Menards carries it anymore. And I'm not sure where in the world you are or where you would get it from, but it's called Happy Frog, and it's a organic mixture. And I've had some really, really good luck with this plant. Now, I know I've talked about orchid bark, and I want to just touch on that. I think that I came across a couple pieces. Let me see if I can find one. Now, I don't know if this is orchid bark or not. But I have seen pieces that look like orchid bark in here, but they're so few and far between. And sometimes I pick them up and I think that they're orchid bark, but they're actually charcoal. But here, as you can see, how tiny, tiny these pieces are. And again, I'm not positive that they are orchid bark. I'm just saying it. If you buy this and you find that in there, and you remember my several videos where I have said, don't use orchid bark anymore, that it could confuse you. So that's why I'm spending that much time on this. Whatever that is in there, it's not a problem. And I'm going to say again, since I got rid of my orchid bark out of my plants, I have had no fungus gnats. None. We are almost at a year. In another month and a half, I think another 6 or 7 weeks, it will be 1 year, I believe, since I stopped using orchid bark. And the reason I did is because I happened to think one day to myself, you know, we keep talking about the fact that these, a lot of these pests and plant insects feed on decaying plant matter. And as I'm putting this orchid bark in on my soil mixture, it dawned on me, this is going to be decaying plant matter. It's going to start to break down with each watering, and eventually it's going to start to decay, and it's going to become decaying plant matter. It's bark from a tree. So, because I couldn't seem to get rid of my fungus gnats for anything, I decided to experiment here. And I said back then, I'm going to stop using that and see if I get rid of my problem. And lo and behold, I did. I have not seen a fungus gnat in, I cannot tell you how long it's been. I know that there was like a lowly one flying around here back during, I think, around the holidays. But it never, that was it. That was the only one I ever saw. And I haven't had any since. So, and I believe it was in September when I stopped using it. And I repotted, as my plants needed repotting, I quit using that altogether. So just to, I'm not saying for sure 100% that that was all the cause. I honestly don't know. I didn't do a controlled study, but I'm giving you the results of my own little experiment here. So if you are a plant lover and you're dealing with fungus gnats, you might want to give that just some consideration and see if you know, if you just cannot get rid of them and it's an ongoing problem and a huge infestation. And I know some of you are, because I watch your videos, and I feel bad because I don't know that if you're seeing my video, but hopefully someone who knows you will know me and pass this information on to help your life be better, because it's no fun living with those folks. They really drive you crazy after a while. They have no problem flying in your face and flying in your mouth, and you're trying to eat dinner and all of a sudden you got a fungus gnat on your face. It's horrible. So, yeah, enough about those. Okay. Now, let's start with her. I'm going to take her out. I want you to see what I'm doing. Got my trusty green bowl. You probably want to see this part. So, I'm just dumping her upside down. And yeah, you can hear the sand hitting the bottom of the bowl, right? Okay. Here. Remember what I just showed you before? You see her? That's from that leaf. That leaf fell off, and it fell just right in the dirt. And that cute little plant came right up out of there. And I'm going to set her aside because I'm pretty sure that my girls are going to want a piece of this. And if not, I have 2 empty planters that were given to me as gifts that need a little plant in them. So I can always put them in there, and if my girls don't want them, that's okay. Alright, now, let me see if I can get some more of this old dirt off of here. Now, I purposely did not water this before I started repotting it because, as you can see, she's got very fine roots. And I do not want those to break from the weight or the heaviness of the water. I know that everybody has their own way of doing things too, but mine, when it comes to repotting, and there are exceptions to this, so it's not always a forever and ever thing, but for the most part, I prefer to repot when the roots are on the dry side. I just feel like I can inspect them better, and also I don't lose as many. When I repot, when the roots are wet, the weight of that pulls down on them, and oftentimes big chunks of the roots will break off, and I don't want that to happen. So, now right now these roots, oh my goodness, they are so fine. I'm not going to do too much more to this. I was hoping to break this root ball up a little bit, but that's not happening. I'm losing roots, and I don't want that to happen. So, let's just leave it as it is. I was going to take these apart, folks, but I'm not going to do that. As you can see underneath here, all those little baby plants in there. Yeah. I don't know. I'm not sure here. You know, the best laid plans, as they say. You think you've got it all planned out, and then once you get it out of the pot, you realize that those plans aren't going to work. That happens to me on occasion. More often than I would like to admit. So, I'm not sure. So I'm going to just sit here a moment and think about it. Do I want to break these apart? Oh, well, I think my dilemma might be over. It just came apart. Look at that. It just came apart on its own. So, okay. That's good, I guess. What I would like to do is get more of this old soil out of here and get some new soil around these roots without disturbing the plant too much, which I've already done. So, and it's not going to kill it, but it will set it back. Anytime you disrupt the roots, it will set the plant back. And you may not even notice it, because it might still grow, but it might have grown twice that fast if you hadn't done that. So, okay. I don't see too many roots in here. Oh, there's a hunk. But that's okay. Alright, the other thing is this is going to allow me to fit both of these plants in that bigger pot. Okay. Now, you can see the roots on the bottom. Do you see those aerial roots coming out of there? That is due to my lack of watering. And I'm sorry to say, I just really need to make this easier so that, you know, what happens is when I'm on an upswing and I'm feeling great, or I should say good at least, then I think I can lick the world, right? And then what happens is I get a downturn and it's like, oh no. And I worry because I have to either let something go or I have to ask for someone to help. And folks, that's not easy for me to do. And it's not that I don't want to ask, it's that the few people that I have that are able to help me have so much on their own plate, they don't need another thing added to theirs. So it's not because I'm trying to be, I don't know, what would you call it, a martyr or whatever. I really truly don't want to put any more burdens on any of my friends or family. And they always tell me they don't mind. They're very, very good about not making me feel guilty, but nevertheless, it is what it is. So, okay, I'm gonna have to. I wish I would have watered this soil down. I didn't think to do that. And one of the problems I'm having is I take my soil out of my big, deep bin, so I get it out of the bag. And I do that as soon as I get it home, folks. I have my husband opens it up on the back porch to make sure there's nothing living and flying in there, because I've had that happen, believe it or not. I have purchased new bags of soil and opened them up, and tons of fungus gnats came flying out. So you've got to be careful. It doesn't happen often, but it happens. So ever since then, and it's happened more than once, but one real big time that I'm remembering. So he'll open it up on the back porch, and then we'll leave it sit open for a few minutes, make sure, and kind of mix it around and stir it up, and if nothing flies out of it, then from there it goes into my this big gray tub that I've had for years. This Sterilite or Sterilite, whatever they're called. You can get them at Walmart. And he puts the bag in there for me. And then from there, I kind of stir it around a little bit to make sure nothing hatches. And then from there, I put it in my big black tub that sits on my dining room table. And that's where I pull the soil out when I'm repotting my stuff. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to go through all those steps, but again, I'm more for the preventative than I am for the cure. So if one extra step, one or two extra things that I have to do to keep bugs at bay, you know, it's better to be safe than sorry. So I'm this water really it's a little too small, but I just want to get the water out of the saucer here. And you can see how fast it went through. Now that's some fast draining soil, right? And we're going to let that happen a few times here. Mix it up a little bit. Because once you let the soil dry out to that point, it really takes a while to become absorbent again. I even heard somebody say, and I don't know if this is true, I actually meant to research this and I forgot. I heard somebody say that if you let soil dry out too far, that it actually kills the good bacteria and the good microbes and things that are in the soil. If anybody knows about that, let us know here on my channel. Go ahead and put it in the comment section. But please, I'm not looking for somebody's opinion. I'm looking for facts. So if you know for a fact that that is true, please let us know. Because if it is true, then I have to stop doing what I'm doing here. And I really kind of like my method right now, so I'm not looking to make myself more work. But yeah, I did hear that, and I thought, wow, that's really interesting. And I guess if it's true, then a lot of my plants would be suffering, because I've been doing this for a long time this way, so I don't know. I don't know. Okay. Now, I have to be careful here, because I do want to try to get these roots up here as close to the soil as possible. But what we don't want to do is bury it deeper than it was, because if this part of the stem isn't used to being in water, this part here, if that's not used to being under the soil line and under the water, it's going to rot. Just like any other plant, any tree. You know, I've seen people out where I live here put things around their trees and add soil. Well, that's the quickest way to kill a tree, is to put soil up around the outside of it, if you get up too high. So be careful, take care not to do that. Oops, I almost put the soil back in the... I almost put the old soil back in there. I hope I didn't already do that while I was talking. Okay. The leaves are falling off. I let it go too long without water. Okay. My fault, once again. And that's what happens, folks. If you... when it comes to succulents, if you let them go too long without water, their leaves will just fall off. Just like on the burro's tail, the donkey's tail, jade plants, many. So if you're getting leaf drop on your succulent plants, most likely that is the reason. It's not always. Sometimes a drastic temperature change will do it as well. So I don't know. Having a hard time getting this one in here because it's so goofy shaped. And I'm really trying to make room for the other plant. And I just don't know if that's going to fit. No, it's not. I actually need a much bigger pot for this plant. So, what do I do? I think I'm going to have to abort my idea of putting these both in the same pot. That's a bummer. Here's another one that fell off, so I'm going to keep that. And I'm going to quit messing with this. I'm just going to stick it in the pot. And I think before I repot that other one, I am going to water it. I'm going to water it and then probably give it a day or two. Because at the rate that I'm losing leaves on this plant, it may be even worse on that one. I don't know, and I don't want to lose any more leaves, so there we go. Get her down in there a little deeper. There's another piece. Okay. I need to move closer to you guys. She's got to go back in here too. I don't know about you guys, but I really like digging in the soil. Boy, this has really been a difficult one for me today. I don't know what is going on here. I'm not usually this klutzy. It's just nothing's working the way I wanted it to. But okay. Hey. Hopefully that'll be okay there. I'm going to stick a few of these leaves that I have extra down in the soil here. Maybe not that one, because I don't know if I got... If you don't get part of the stem, they tend to not work. So you have to make sure that when you're using a piece, you're not just using a partial leaf. Like this one here. You see how this broke off of here? The chances of that rooting are pretty slim, but I'll give it a shot. We'll give it a try. But not right now. Let's finish this first. And let's see, I gotta remember to save some of these for that little pot. And I think Okay. I think the reason I'm having such an issue with this is because I can't get it to look nice the way I have it in my head. And it's because it kind of grew all wonky, and that, again, it was my fault, but there. Now she's standing up a little straighter. Oh, boy. Yeah. I really need this one in there too. And that's okay because these things grow pretty fast, so I'll just make new plants for those other planters from the leaves. But I don't want to take away from the mother plant either, so. Such a mess I'm making. Oh yeah, that's okay. It's okay. Alright, I don't think I'm gonna futz around with this anymore, folks. I'm really having a hard time getting this in here the way I want it, and I think I'm just making it matters worse. So before I lose any more leaves, I think we're just going to call it a day here and let it, give it a good watering and let her do what she's going to do, because I think what I'm doing is just creating more of a problem, and I feel terrible. I don't want to do any damage any more than I've already done. I'm going against my own rule here about going too high up on the stem. And I just hope the heck it doesn't rot it, but I mean, there's many other ways I could have done this. I could have cut it off right here. You see all this bare stem here and these aerial roots, and I could have cut this off and stuck that back down in there, and it might have made it. I have one here that I could have laid more on its side on the roots, and it might have been okay. Really want it to stand up straight, so I'm going to add a little more sand. I almost called it sugar. A little more sand. There goes another leaf. See, they're just dropping off like crazy. And again, that is lack of water, so I have no one to blame but myself. But that's alright. I'm going to bring her back to life. I'm so sorry I did that to you. Okay. Alright, plant friends. Let's be done with this. Oh. Eventually I'm going to wash that out. But for now, whoops, I want to put in my worm castings and my bonide systemic granules. And I do this with every plant now because it just works. whenever I repot or add soil, I also put in some bonide. I'm putting it a little more than normal because it's a new pot. But I usually just sprinkle a little on the soil. Alright, and then I'm going to cover it with this. And in case you're wondering why that says that, it's because it's worm poop. My husband wrote that on there the other day because he almost put it in the coffee pot again. He was making coffee, and because it says Folgers on the front of it, and it looks just like coffee inside, he almost put that in the coffee pot. So, he was running around looking for a marker, and I saw him doing something. I said, "What you doing there?" And he didn't say nothing, and he finished doing what he was doing, and then he showed me in the end. I said, "Oh." I said, "Are you afraid you're going to get that mixed up?" He said, "I already did." I said, "Oh no." So yeah, we don't want to drink worm poop. That's not good. That would not be good. This is worm castings for those of you who don't know. And it's a very mild fertilizer that really does have lots of benefits for your plants. So if you're not using it, you should be. And you can use it in pretty much any plant. And like I said, it's very mild, so it's like a slow release. Pretty hard to harm your plants by over fertilizing with that. So if you are a plant enthusiast and you're looking for another way to fertilize your plants, that's an excellent way. But I do use that in addition to my systemic granules, and I have no problems that way. I should clarify, I did over fertilize. I want to say it was 2 months ago now. And again, it was one of those times when I was just trying to get done what I had to do, and I think I put a little bit too much fertilizer in the water, and about a week later, maybe a little less, I noticed that the plants I watered with that all had issues. Not bad, I mean, just where the leaves turned black on the ends, and that is a sign of over-fertilization, in case you didn't know. So, yeah, that was a sad day when I did that. So, you know, we're not perfect. Nobody's perfect. Now, when you put these leaves back in the soil, you want to make sure that you're not putting it in the tip. You're using the part that was originally connected to the plant. In case you can't see what I'm doing, I'm going to just put a little divot in there and stick her down in there. Some of these are going to make it and some of them won't. But I can tell you I did this with my jade, and most of them made it. Got a lot of new growth in that plant, so I'm excited about that. Okay, and then so if you have one of these plants and you want to share it with your friends and family, this is a great way to do it. You just stick it down in the soil, and then when they start sprouting a new plant, and once again I'll show that to you. See if I can. I'm stretching here. Let me stand up. Okay. And you can see, hopefully you can see that, how the roots came from the bottom of the leaf. See that? And that's how that happens. So give it a shot, folks. See if it works for you. Oh, look at this little baby with the little roots. We're going to put her in with her. Got any other ones? Yep, I got another one. Here's another one starting. I'll put that one in there too. I'm not looking for a real big plant to put in those other two planters. They're both elephant planters and they're both very small. So I don't want to put anything in there that's going to grow fast because they'll outgrow it in a very short period of time. But yeah, and I'm kind of bummed that I wasn't able to combine these two plants. So in the back of my mind while I'm talking to you, unfortunately, I'm still thinking, what am I going to do with that other plant? But that's all right. I'll figure it out. I always figure it out. Eventually. Okay. And there's quite a number of little babies coming up in the middle of this mess too, so I'm not too sure how this is all going to work out, but we will see. Together we'll see. Okay? Alright. Oh, I see another spot over here. I can stick a few. Now, let me just say, watering. I know that that's going to make some of you laugh now because I just talked about how I underwatered her. But, folks, it wasn't because I didn't know, okay? It was for various other reasons. But trust me when I say it's really important to let these dry out between waterings. That the quickest way to kill these is to overwater them. And you can see that because even though she was seriously underwatered, and I mean seriously, she's still got a lot of growth left on her. Okay, so unless you seriously underwater her, she's going to be okay. Better to underwater than overwater. And that's, I find that to be true with almost all plants. And again, there's always an exception to that, but with most plants, you can bring them back after underwatering. When you overwater, what happens is it rots the roots. And there's usually no bringing that back. Unless you catch it right away, and then you want to take that out of the pot, out of that soil, lay it on a paper towel, let it dry out for a few hours, and in some cases, maybe even overnight, and put her in fresh, dry soil. That is the only way I know of to bring back an overwatered plant, and even that doesn't always work. If you overwatered it and didn't realize it until days later, that method might not even be good enough. Once the roots die, there's no bringing them back. And I think most of us know that. So I'm probably preaching to the choir here, but I just want to, for those of you who don't know, and I know there's a few of you that are newbies and you're just starting out, and congratulations, by the way. It's a beautiful, wonderful hobby to be in. It has brought me much peace and joy in my life, and I hope for the same for you. And I want to take a moment to thank all my people who watch me and who comment, and I really, really appreciate that. I look forward to those comments each and every video that I do. So, thank you, thank you. Alright, I'm going to give her one more little watering here, and then I'm going to set her aside, and then I'm going to see what I can do. See if I can find a pot for this one. I'm pretty sure she does need to be repotted. I'm you know, she's dry and she's heavy, so I'm pretty sure this one is root bound as well. But I think I'm going to water her before I do that, because I don't want to lose a lot of leaves like I did on this one. So that's going to be my goal between today and tomorrow as I'm working on my south window. And hopefully I will have that all put back together for you real soon. And you will be able to see the after of the before and after. And thank you so much for your patience and for sticking with me. I hope you have a good day tomorrow. And if you have to go to work yet, I hope you have a peaceful day at work. And in the meantime, you all take care, okay?